Welcome into another SR51 Media mini cast. I am your host, Salt Aries. Let's wait to make sure we got the levels in the background. You know how we do. I know it may be running normal, but I like to just make sure that everybody's getting a good viewing experience. Hopefully, everybody's day is going well. I'm not going to keep you here too long. Just wanted to jump into some sports and video game stuff that I saw that's kind of out there that might have breezed past you a little bit today. So, just checking to make sure we got audio. Um, okay, we have audio. So, as I was saying, welcome into another SR51 Media mini cast. I call it 51 mini cast. So, today I just wanted to talk about a couple topics that I saw online and how they relate to each other. So, one of the first things I wanted to start off with is that NFL 2K is coming back. So, supposedly, from what we're hearing from information and documents and things like that, NFL 2K, I guess 22 will be coming out this year. Now, the thing about it is what you have to take in consideration, and you're going to see me moving every now and again, moving the controller just so we don't get knocked out of the menu. Um, Let me set it over here. Um, so yeah, the thing of it is NFL 2K is coming back this year, but there's a little bit of some stipulations to it. So Madden holds the simulation license. So what that means is simulation is basically when the game plays as close to real life as possible. You know, they're running plays. The players look just like the real life players. The playbooks are the same. They're running offensive plays. You know, that sort of game. Now, 2K has gotten a license to make an arcade football game. Now, an arcade football game to me falls more in the category of like NFL Blitz, trying to think, NFL Street, titles like that, where, maybe more mobile titles where typically the characters are short and muscled up, or they're exaggerated, like they have super muscles, like kind of how WWE 2K new backgrounds, WWE 2K game that just came out plays, right? So when you look at that, the first thing that I know is going to be breeded from this is the whole, controversy of choosing one or another. Okay, first of all, to be honest with you, I probably would still, even if 2K was dropping like a 2K game, I probably would still choose Madden, just because of the fact that right now, as it stands, to me, Madden is a very great game. Like the only reason why I pulled back uh, playing these last couple days was because of the fact of me still working out, trying to get the music set up on the channel, or trying to get trying to get music set up on the channel, or at the same time trying to just mute it outright. So I'm still working with the settings there. But if I could say anything, I think that Madden has put in a lot of things that made them a better game. Like, I think there was a period there where they weren't innovating a lot of stuff. And then when they brought the X Factors and the superstars and the star rating into the game, I feel as though it really, turned things up to another level. The scenarios and the franchise is amazing. When a player says, "Hey, I wanna, I wanna have an amazing game, and I want to take the next step as a player," you can really, you can level up players. I think a good amount of my players that's on the team now, like our strong safety, he was a star and he rose to a superstar. So there might be another game a year or so from now where he could rise to an X factor. I think he, might get to that. And it's happened like that with the quarterback, and it's happened like that with the wide receiver as well. So it makes a very interesting game, not just for a couple of rounds. From a franchise perspective, I think I just discovered, because sometimes you run into money problems, because it's so, that's one thing I could say that they need to kind of change up a bit is the contracts. Like when you go to run a relocation team at Madden, you got to spend like probably like $100 million of your cap, right, just to building a stadium. So what I might do is I might go back in there a little bit later and just add 150 back, because it's like being paid back for the stadium, because that's kind of how it works in real life. I know a lot of people make it seem like, oh, don't get me wrong, they split the cost and everything, but typically the team that lets the name like Philadelphia is Lincoln Financial Field. So I'm pretty sure Lincoln Financial paid like 70-80% of the cost of the stadium, and the Eagles just have to maintain it every month and put fans in the seats basically. So when you play franchise in Madden, what happens is when you actually move a team like that, you have to spend, from what I saw, about $100 million on the stadium. And when you spend $100 million on the stadium, you automatically can't have a free agency. So there was a lot of things that happened, and then also I had to. It's not that I had to let go of Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox wanted $20 million for one more year, and I would have loved to pick him up, but I didn't have the money. So the thing of it is, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in there and I don't. Right now I was feeling uh, the new Madden 22 because it's gonna have Jalen Hurts as a better player, and Carson Wentz is gonna be gone, and we're gonna have Devontae Smith and all the other players we drafted and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to Madden NFL 22. It's a definite day one purchase, and when I say day one, I mean like day one as in the 3 day early thing. I typically am playing Madden the first day it's available. I even tend to take off work a little bit just so I can have that experience at night and stuff. So we'll see as we get closer to the release of the game, and as we get closer to the release date and things like that, I'll put out more information about what I plan on doing and how I plan on going about it. But the sports thing ties in because like today, one thing I want to say is, and I'm just gonna call it fair. I know it's not gonna land well with some people, but there is media bias. And being a console owner of PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, I can kind of see how people get caught up in the middle with this console war stuff. But I think that what they lose sight of is the fact that people want the future. I know it's gonna sound weird and stuff like that because we're in the middle of a pandemic. But people are ready for the next step. You see what I'm saying? And I think that with the emergence of 5G and like myself, I tell you straight up, the MacBook M1 is amazing. I think that streaming is here now, and when you look at the Switch and things like that, right? That's more. I feel as though, to tell you the truth, the Switch, as wild as this may sound, I feel as though that the Switch is just a hair, like just by a bumper, beating out PlayStation and Xbox. Because when you look at it, you buy like 800 games, right? But they're home games. There's really a standard now where there's home games and there's away games, right? Like kind of like in football, right? Away games is anything. It could be work, it could be going out with family and friends, it could be going on a plane trip, it could be going on a vacation, whatever takes you out of the house for more than an hour, right? Classifies as when you could play your Switch. Now I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, whatever. You gotta understand. If I was sitting there saying you're playing Mario for 80 hours, then yeah, that'd be messed up. I mean, I like Mario. I liked Mario when I was a kid. I kind of want to get Mario the 3D World. I mean, the 3D World. Mario Odyssey. I haven't gotten around to that. But my Switch is loaded with games that I've been playing on that I can play on other consoles, but now I have it on the Switch. Like prime example, last night I played Xenoverse 2, the mission where I'm being trained by Vegeta. That's my boy. I like Vegeta over Goku and everybody else. Big fan of Dragon Ball Z. Big fan, right? So, it was a mission where I had to fight Vegeta once, and then I had to fight Super Saiyan level 3 Goku and Super Saiyan level 2 Vegeta. And I beat both of them, and I earned the Super Saiyan ability last night. Now, at the same time, I own Xenoverse on Xbox, but I'm like level 90. So we're in a little bit of a conundrum here because basically there's DLC packets and things like that. Once I beat the story, and you kind of get through the main story, there's like DLC packets and quests and things that keep you coming back every day. So basically, this went from being a game that you pick up every now and again, for an hour or two, a couple of hours when you're home, to no, I need this game on me daily because they have daily quests. They have. And I went into a daily quest where we fought Super Saiyan or I forget what level Broly is. I forget what level Super Saiyan he is. But Super Saiyan Broly, he was on like level 99. I just jumped into an event, and like three people, I didn't even expect it. Like four people, it was so easy for the multiplayer now, especially nowadays with people with some multiplayer games unable to jump in. All I did was fly across the Canton City. I saw a ball, like kind of like a time sphere ball. Went up to it and basically started the match. And what happened was, the first time I started it, we lost. And then it was fun regardless because I was fighting with, they were, it was other people in there. It was one boy that was Frieza's race. It was another person that was Saiyans. One person was dressed up like the red Super Saiyan, the red Goku and stuff. People shooting off Kamehameha waves. Everybody just blasting their specials. There were times where Broly would, he would shoot a super, like a damn near planet-sized Kamehameha wave at us, and we would all have to line up and shoot our beams to, shoot the Kai Blast to keep it from landing on us and stuff and taking us out. So, and we were reviving each other. That's the thing about Xenoverse. Like, you go down, and if you're on a team with somebody, even the CPU, they come, if they're not being beat up, they come, like if it's two people, like say it's three of you, yourself and two NPCs, and you're fighting an NPC, right? One of those NPCs, when you go down, will leave that fight and come over and pick you up, and that's something you don't really see in games. Like typically, and I'm not going to put out any games like that are, not doing it. But to be honest with you, to me, I feel as though, Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse has some of the best content going. I think it comes from their franchise, like because they have like, man, gotta be like, because I started watching Dragon Ball Z when I was in like my teenage years, when I was in like high school and stuff like that. So I'm in my 30s now. So for at least like 15 plus years worth of content, cartoons, movies, books, all these sorts of things. So Xenoverse 2 is the type of game that you want to have in your pocket, right? And then, there's, matter of fact, where's my Switch? Let me grab my Switch 1 second. Since I'm answering certain topics about the Switch. So, yeah, there's Xenoverse 2. Just to give you some titles that's out there, there's NBA 2K21, and if I'm not mistaken, NBA 2K22 should be coming to the Switch as well, right? And then of course I got the YouTubes, and this kind of a game. Saints Row the Third, Animal Crossing is tough, Street Outlaws the List, of course, DC Online Universe. These are games where when you listen to them, right? These are games where basically, yes, you could play them on Xbox and you could play them on PlayStation, and they would probably be 4K and 50, 4K 60 and 120 frames and all this sorts of stuff. But you're still at your house, and you're either at your house or you're attached to a box. Now, to me, when there wasn't a Switch and there wasn't a Xbox streaming, then basically there was no option. You either played the game at the crib or took the box somewhere else, or you didn't play the game. Like, that's just how it worked. Now, if you track back in our tweets, if you track back in our game streams, the second Xbox announced that they were working to make it where you could stream an Xbox to all devices, we were on top of that. Okay, I even tweeted at Phil Spencer, thank you, because I think like maybe 2 years before that, I used to write in the comment section whenever they would write something about like liking the Switch or something like that, I would write, you guys need to make a handheld Xbox. I think I've been asking for a handheld Xbox for like the past 3 or 4 years, right? Easy. No lie. You can look at my tweets, right? And it's not one of those things like clout chasing or nothing. I don't be in anybody's DMs. This is just, basically open where everybody can see it. Everybody in the 51 Dynasties can go and see that I added Xbox and was like, yo, can we get a handheld? Now, I'm not saying that to say, oh, I'm, crediting myself with this streaming Xbox thing. No, I'm saying that I think people on Xbox, okay, including myself, wanted all our games to go with us. So I can give credit to Xbox for what they're doing, where they're, they have an app built and things like that. The only thing I would say is, because they're in a back and forth with Apple and it's kind of being blocked as an app, I would say that does impact how many people will pick it up. Like basically I have to run out today, right? And I thought about it. I was like, damn, I checked yesterday. I was like, yeah, I want to play this Xbox on my MacBook, right? You know, the new thing is on iOS. So you go to the website and they're like, oh, well, we're doing invite only. Okay, right? There's no time scale on when this thing is launching. There's no real windows, nothing like that, right? So I'm like, okay, Switch wins again, you know? Like once again, you know, Nintendo. See, even though I own all the consoles and things like that, at the same time, I grew up on Nintendo, okay? And I was here before there was an Xbox and before there was a PlayStation. So I can understand, like, people kind of crack me up a little bit that's in the PlayStation Xbox war because it kind of reminds me of the Sega Nintendo war when I was in school, you know? And people, which one you got? You got the Nintendo, you got the Sega. And to be honest, I was lucky enough to have a family where, you know, there were so many of us where basically I had access to my Nintendo, and at the same time I had got a Sega at the same capacity, right? So I was able to not have to experience that. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't really have to experience that, but I used to, you know, my friends, I used to see people clowning each other. Oh, you bought this console, and oh, you. I'll never forget it when I was in, I think it was like PlayStation came out when I was in like maybe fifth grade, something like that. I don't know. I gotta look it up. Right, fourth, fifth grade, and I remember my friend talking about, "Hey, you getting a PlayStation?" And I'm like, "What?" You know, like I'm kind of like, you know, to tell you the truth, I'm kind of like, "What?" Like, you know, what is that? Like, oh, and the screen's loading. That's why I went black. I'm kind of like, what? You know, what is that? Is it a toy? Is it a new toy or something like that? And then once I found out about it and everything, to be honest with you, I stayed with Nintendo. You know, and I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Like, the only reason why I ended up even owning an Xbox was because Nintendo, I don't know what the hell they were doing, but basically after the GameCube, after the N64 and the GameCube, because I think the GameCube was like the last console, and I had a GameCube. I had the case, I had the games, I had everything, right? I used that, to be honest with you, Nintendo was thinking portable even back then, because the GameCube was a type of system where it was so light that you could just disconnect it, put it in a pack, put the wires with it, and just stroll out, right? So I was lucky enough, thank God, and you know, thank you, Lord, and thank you, family. You know, all my family and friends listening. I was lucky enough to have a family support system where, you know, me and my cousins, shout out to my cousins, you know, we had all the games. You know, like I was more Nintendo and Xbox than my other cousin. He had the Dreamcast. My other cousin had the PlayStation. You know, my other cousins had other Atari systems and stuff. So I've been brought up around gaming since I was like a toddler. You know, so I've always liked it. But what I see as the evolution of game playing is it's not to crush one or another. This is one of the dumbest things I hear nowadays. People talking about, oh, I don't support streaming because I don't want to see console streaming die. I mean, I don't want to see consoles die. And it's like, you have to understand we're moving to a point as people where it's not that the console is going to die, but some people, to be honest, don't want to only be able to play their experiences at home. You know, I know some people right now, like I said, I know we're in a pandemic right now, but in all honesty, we're not always going to be in a pandemic. And also, certain things have opened up, you know, like malls, beaches have kind of opened up a little bit more. Vacations are starting to be taken by people again. We're about to hit the summer. I mean, of course, you know, I'm telling everybody, you know, and I'm doing it myself, you know, you stay masked up, sanitized up, you know, keep social distance, things like that when you can. So you're doing the right thing. But then at the same time, I feel that, you know, there's this divide trying to be created, you know. Ahmed, thank you for joining the 51 Dynasties. I greatly appreciate your support. Welcome to the 51 Dynasties community. When you get a chance, make sure to go over to, make sure to go over to Artirzan. Thank you for your support. Welcome to the 51 Dynasties. As I was just telling Ahmed, you want to go over to the website, check out our information, see more about us, www.sr51media.com. Abraham, thank you for joining the 51 Dynasties. As I was saying, welcome to the 51 Dynasties community. The website at the bottom is our official brand website where we go to, oh, hold on one second. Best. Thank you for joining the 51 Dynasties. Thank you for your support. It's greatly appreciated. I want to say thank you. As I was explaining to the other new members that just joined, you want to go to the website below. Oh, Celia Baba. Am I selling that? Celia Baba. Celia Baba, if I'm calling that correctly. Thank you for joining in 51 Dynasties. As I was explaining, let me give it a minute just in case anybody else is coming. Okay. I want to thank all of you for joining in 51 Dynasties. Welcome to our community. We are one of the best internet-based communities for sports, video games, cryptocurrency, and news. I want you to go over to, when you get a chance, go over to www.sr51media.com. That is our official brand website run by us for you, so that way you can get a better understanding of who we are, what we are about, and what we are around. If you can follow us across social media, we are at SR51 Media on TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, of course, as you just saw. I am Salt Airs on Xbox. If you want to shoot me a friend request, I am open to gaming with people, live streaming or not. And I just want to take a minute and stop what I'm talking about and say thank you for joining the 51 Dynasties. We greatly appreciate you. Welcome to the community, and hopefully everybody that sees you online, welcome them in the community. Hit them up with some news, maybe some retweets, get them caught up on the latest news and keep them up to date. And if you're wondering on Twitter, what I normally do is when I'm talking directly to you guys about tweets and things like that, I'll put 51 Dynasties. And that means that I'm starting a statement like 51 Dynasties, look at this, or 51 Dynasties, look at this type of thing. So just to explain to you a little bit about, who the 51 Dynasties are. And if you're also wondering, I am Salt Aries. My wife is Rose Aries. We are the creators of SR51 Media. But the 51 Dynasties, we do consider ourselves a part of that community and the 51 Dynasties as well. All of you guys are dynasties in whatever you're doing, okay? Whether it be streaming, working, providing, you're all a dynasty in your own family, and that's why we call you the 51 Dynasties and call ourselves the 51 Dynasties. So thank you for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And the journey continues to continue climbing up the YouTube ladder. So one of the things I was saying was people are in a situation, right, where you have to look at, because I don't want to keep you here too long and stuff. We're already over half an hour. People are in a situation where what you have to understand is the world, like I saw something today, somebody brought something to my attention today that they're trying to bring back drive-in movies and stuff. These are things, there's going to be different things that come out because of the pandemic, like would you go to a movie theater or would you go to a drive-in movie theater? Would you, when you go to fly, would you take your Xbox and PlayStation 5 or would you take your Nintendo Switch? When you're going somewhere, like, don't get me wrong, you see, like, at first, I'm going to be honest with you, when I first saw the Nintendo Switch, like where I was going before the stream came from, when I first saw the Nintendo Switch, and just to backtrack, where I was going with the Nintendo thing too was, when I had the GameCube, I was waiting on Nintendo to basically drop the next console, and they never did. They just, for all the young boys, it, wasn't alive at that time. Basically, the GameCube was the last Nintendo console. I don't know why. They didn't make another one, and there was like a long period in between the GameCube and the Wii. So in between the GameCube and the Wii is when the original OG Xbox came out. So I made the choice to buy the OG Xbox, and then, it just started up, and it was just Xbox, Xbox, Xbox. So I never really got around, Rosari's got around to the Wii. I never really got around to using the Wii and stuff like that. But when Nintendo came out with the Switch, I didn't really feel it at first because of the fact that, it was basically like a Mario system. It was one of those things where basically, the games that were coming out were like Mario, 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 Mario. So what I feel as though that they've done, to be honest, that's better than, to tell you the honest truth, what I think is better than, hold on one second. The thing of it is, when you look at it, the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo in general has really thought smart because I see a lot of things like I saw last night. I put a tweet up about there's another Windows-based portable device coming out from Indiegogo or something like that. And, I wrote in a post, I was like, hey, I would prefer the Nintendo Switch still because the thing of it is the Nintendo Switch, at first, like I said, when I first saw it and it was just a Mario box, I didn't want it, right? But then when I started seeing things like when I first got it, to tell you the truth, when I first got it, I got one, Rosari's got one, and other family members got one. And then I basically got rid of mine because I didn't feel as though I was using it. And then right after I got rid of mine, I had to go get another one, a light one, because Animal Crossing came out. Amazing game. I never thought I'd find myself, like, even now, wanting to pick weeds and build my house, but still amazing game to this day, right? So Animal Crossing came out. Then after Animal Crossing, Xenoverse became available. Then after Xenoverse, I found out about Xenoverse. Then after Xenoverse, the thing that took me completely by surprise was that NBA 2K21 and the full real life NBA 2K21 from Xbox and PlayStation was brought over to Nintendo Switch. You know, even I'm gonna tell you right now, Marvel's Ultimate Alliance. Ultimate Alliance, the Marvel one for Nintendo Switch is a better game than the game that's on Xbox and PlayStation right now, the Marvel Avengers game. Right? I made the mistake. This is my error. Okay, last year I admit it. I admit it right here online. I made an error last year and bought Marvel Avengers for Xbox and PlayStation when I should have bought Ultimate Alliance on my Switch. You know, and I owned that game previously. Like I was like, oh, you know, you can be the Hulk and you can be all these people, and it was like, nope. You know, I'm running around with like three people, you know, that's doing what they want to do, and as it stands now, most people kind of moved away from the game. So it was one of those things where, you know, I was like, all right, you know, next time I'll know. Next time I'll know. So even with the baseball, okay, you got Major League Baseball, and yes, it's this amazing, you know, let's say amazing looking and you know, graphically intense game and stuff like that. But once again, only playable at your house, right? And a lot of times people may say, well, what's up with all this out the door stuff? Look at yourself. There has to be times, nobody, now don't get me wrong, if you go from work and then directly home to your console and you don't see yourself wanting to play games outside your house, then this doesn't apply to you. I understand that. But for the rest of us, and a lot of us, because last time I checked, the Nintendo Switch sold 84 million. I put a tweet up. They said, if I'm not mistaken, the number said that Switch sold. Matter of fact, I could check it right now. That way I'm giving you actual information. I put up a tweet. That's what I'm saying, being a part of the 51 Dynasties. I put up I try to keep everybody updated to news and information and stuff. I put up a tweet about, I want to say a day ago, maybe. It said, it was about the Nintendo Switch. I'm trying to find it. The Nintendo Switch has sold over 84.5 million consoles, right? So basically, there's 80 million of us, right? There's 80 plus million of us, almost 85 million, 84 million of us that are Nintendo Switch owners, okay? And the thing about the Nintendo Switch, what I'm understanding about it is, it's not like you can, you have to own one. Now, don't get me wrong. The reason why for me I wanted to own all of them was because I don't think next generation is going to play out the way they thought it was going to play. Like, I think Xbox, especially Xbox and PlayStation, this is where I think they're on thin ice with people, because a lot of people are in a situation, where they weren't able to get their hands on a console. Now, I noticed last night when I did a little looking, just a little small search on GameStop, the Xbox Series S was available, and it was, it was there, and it was, pretty nicely priced for like $3 something. And, it's a nice console and everything like that. But the other course is that, there's supposedly rumors of a new Nintendo Switch, right? So you have to take all of that into account, because somebody like me, I would say, yes, MLB, like take MLB The Show, for instance, right? MLB The Show is a very good looking game. It plays very well, but it's a very home-based game. You see what I'm saying? Now, when Xbox allows the streaming of Xbox games to your iOS device, that'll change up some things. You might be in a situation then where, okay, basically, you say to yourself, well, I don't want to switch because I want to take my Xbox with me. See, I'm in the same boat. I got the MacBook, I got the iPad. I'm waiting for them to, drop their games, but it's not available now. Now, at the same time, is it going to make me say, okay, I'm not taking my Switch to take Xbox or to take an Xbox? No. It'll just all be in the same bag. Like, even right now, as I'm about to leave, I was going to take all of this, but what I'm going to be doing, I don't think I'm going to have time for my computer. So I'll just be taking my Switch. Now, how does that get picked out? Well, because of the fact that, number one, even the person's house I'm going to and people I'm hanging with, if I do, have their own consoles, right? So you can just play on theirs. And second of all, at the same time, most of the people I bang with have Nintendo Switches. So we can all kind of link up on things and games and stuff like that, right? But it ties into this stuff because basically what's going on is you have to make different decisions. You have to do what's best for you. What we do, what SR51 Media does is we gather all the information for you, bring it to you so that way you're better informed when you go to make a decision. Like when you go to say, okay, I'm either going to buy the Xbox or I'm going to buy the PlayStation or I'm going to buy the Nintendo. See, some people don't play across multi-platform. Some people are like, I'm just buying one, right? And I can understand that. I can respect that. But like I said, I don't think next generation is going to play out the way they think it's going to play out. I think due to the pandemic, due to the chip shortage, and due to the fact that these things aren't on shelves, a lot of people aren't going to switch over. And you may say, where does the media bias come from? Okay. Sometimes in gaming, there is a media bias. And it's not so much, I don't want to say it's like, oh, everybody hates Xbox. No, sometimes it's like basically what I see is a lot of people try to remind people that PlayStation, and it's understandable, PlayStation has sold out 40 million consoles or something like that, whatever the number is, really, some super high number. Here's the thing, right? To me, I'm just going to answer it honestly. If I was running a game company, let's say I was running Xbox, right? And at the end of the year, we looked at our numbers, and of course you compare them against the industry, right? And I see that you compare them to the industry, and I see that PlayStation sold 50 million consoles at $500 a pop. Now, or $500 a pop. The first thing that happens is I'm like, okay, you would add up how much they made. Now I'm not I'm not a mathematician or anything like that, right? But let's put a ballpark number on this. Let's say, because you sold them at like 600, and you sold like 30 million, right? So let's say 40 or 50 million dollars. Let's just give them 50. I'm gonna give them 50. Let's just say Sony made $50 million since the end of the PlayStation 4 last year and the strike of the PlayStation 5 now, okay? Now, what you have to keep in mind is there's at least 20 million subscribers on Xbox Game Pass, right? At least. I'm giving it a low number. I think it's like 30 or something, but I'm just going to say 20, right? Now, 20 million people at $1 a month comes out to $20 million. $20 million it costs 3 months comes out to $60 million. So we pay like $20 a month. So that's even more than that. So if I was running a game company, I would want the Xbox model because basically you guys are banking on old hardware. Like it's like when comics are, you see how comics are no longer a paper thing. People read them online. You buy the DC app, you buy the Marvel app, you read your comics, things like that. Right? When I was a kid, comics came on paper, or they came on holographic paper, or they came on paper. Period. And you went to the store and bought them and things like that. You read them. But nowadays, comics they still there in paper, but they're moving more towards digital. Things are moving more towards digital and portable, and I can pick it up and go, right? So at the same time, I wouldn't want the PlayStation model also because of the fact that, and it's not downing PlayStation. Like I said, you can look up my gamer tag. Okay, I don't have that many trophies. I think I got like 3 trophies on PlayStation, but I own my PlayStation 4, right? Where I'm coming from is the model doesn't generate the same amount of money that Xbox Game Pass generates. You see what I'm saying? Like even with the exclusives, okay, you drop an exclusive, God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn and a couple of other games, right? Basically, ever since those games came out, everybody's been, oh, these are the best games. These are the best games. I have yet to play Last of Us. It's not my kind of game. God of War is why I own a PlayStation 4, and that's enough for me. There's some other games that I want to get into, like Infamous Second Son and all these other sorts of things. But like I said, Nintendo's been first. Nintendo and Xbox have been running a race for first, and Nintendo's and PlayStation has been second, right? Just because of the fact that there's nothing really going on. Now, the point I'm trying to illuminate to you is that essentially when PlayStation makes their, let's say, 50 million for consoles, and let's say I give them another 10 million for their game copies, let's say they made $60 million. Well, Xbox looking at their chart like, When we make $60 million in like 5 months. Every 5 or 6 months we make $60 million, and that's not even including Xbox hard. That's why I'm not even considering Xbox hardware and sales and stuff like that. It is true. Xbox is getting out of the hardware business. And let me explain something to you. There was never any real bullying going on here. Like, a lot of people are making it seem like, well, they're getting muscled out of the gaming industry. It's like, no, they're thinking smart. Because to tell you the truth, when you look close, if you don't believe me, do a little experiment. When you go out in public, right, and don't stare at people, but when you go out in public, look and see how many kids you see with tablets, phones. You see what I'm saying? Switches, things like the iPads, Android devices, Nintendo Switches. This is what is in the hands of the younger generation. And to tell you the truth, some of us older generations have gotten to the point where we're like, I want to be portable too. When you see, and it's not to say you're, immortalizing a kid or anything like that, but it's one of those things where you're like, damn, I started to think about it like, damn, you come home from work, right, and you want to relax, but you're stuck. You're in front of the TV because you want to play your Madden, you want to play your 2K, you want to play Titanfall, you want to do this, and this, but it only functions from in the house in front of the TV. You see what I'm saying? And now Xbox has said, well, we're going to take that away. We're going to take that away, and we're going to give you the option to basically. Let me turn my phone down a bit. Well, I gotta leave it up because I'm waiting to see some information here. We're gonna take all that away. We're gonna take away the need for our console. And people are like, well, if I don't need to own a console, I'm not playing Xbox. And it's like, that's not necessarily true, because what's gonna happen is, if I'm seeing this correctly, they're still gonna release hardware, but eventually the streaming service is gonna step up to where some people are like, I don't need my Xbox. You see what I'm saying? Because I can play on my iPad. I can play on my MacBook. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why even myself, I'm like, do I really, I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm sitting here going back and forth, like, do I really need the Series X? Like, right now, I kind of put in more work. I can't even stream 4K to you. You see what I'm saying? Like, on some real. I can't, from what I know, it's not that I can't stream it to you, like, I'm just not set up for it, And at the same time, 4K is a lot more demanding on hardware and stuff like that. So I wasn't even going down that route. So where I'm going with this is, where I'm, making points with this is, when you look at the model, I think Xbox, because the Project xCloud thing didn't exist when the Nintendo Switch came out, okay? I think the Nintendo Switch, because I remember Xbox, PlayStation, everybody across the world was just, congratulating Nintendo, and everybody was talking about how they own one, and they were playing it, and all this sorts of stuff. And I think what ended up happening here was it shook people up at Xbox. Like, they felt like, damn, we can get left behind. Like, if they made a console, and basically their console, when people come home, like grabbing my Switch, I can just walk up to my dock and say ding and sit it in there, and I could have been playing Xenoverse, getting it down, right? And then I'm all right, let me park my car, I'm going home. All right, let me pause my game, right? Let me stop my game, and then when I come home, boom, sit in the stand, game pops up, let's get back to it, right? And if I'm going somewhere, let's say hypothetically, once again, something like Xenoverse is the type of game where they don't let you, because it's an online based game, so they don't really let you sit and idle and things like that. And if you back out of the screen, it will close down the game. But there's other games like Animal Crossing and Saints Row and other games where you can back out of the game and it doesn't close it out, right? So hypothetically, you're playing your game or whatever, you in the house. Oh yeah, whoever, whatever partner you got, man, woman, child, man, woman, you got children that want to go play outside or something like that, whatever you want to call it. Family, I'm a big family person. I believe in family first, and and I work. So it's one of those things where, let's say hypothetically, you get the call, hey, we got to run out. Okay, boom, snatch the Switch out of the system, put it in your pocket, gone. Back pocket, you're gone. I have no problem with carrying my Switch in my back pocket when I'm moving around, because I look at it like it is what it is. There's times at restaurants, everybody goes for their phone. I'm like, I might play a little Dragon Ball Z. I might play a little bit of this, right? Because I have it with me. You see what I'm saying? It's going to be the same way with Xbox. You're going to find more people. Like, that's going to be where, in a way, and like I said, not taking jabs at PlayStation, but this is where PlayStation somewhat gets left in the dust going forward. Because when people are flying out, Like I've seen people at airports on their computers playing games. I've seen people at Starbucks playing games. I've seen people in parks have their computers and switches. Pokemon Go is still a thing. I played that. Me and Rosarius played that hella. So it's one of those things where, as this next year rolls, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year, people are gonna become used to Xbox being just like Nintendo. Like, oh, I can play this in the streets, right? And what they did was they kept themselves from getting involved in hardware. See, hardware is the stumbling block for a lot of people. A lot of people right now do not want to pay $600 or $500 or $600 for these new consoles, right? So a lot of people are choosing to say, I'm gonna wait it out, because the longer you wait it out, basically it's more beneficial to you. There's people that no qualms about it. They paid $800 something for the console because they wanted it now. But when you look close, when they announced the console, Xbox said, we're giving you like 2 years basically before we close the door, and all games will be competitive and stuff like that. Like I saw a report yesterday, because I was talking with my bro there, and I saw that NBA 2K22, if I'm not mistaken, is coming to the Switch, right? And there's rumors that Madden 22 may come to the Switch as well. So that's kind of like the last holdout. Well, I shouldn't say it's the last holdout, because I really do want some Assassin's Creed games and stuff. They got one Assassin's Creed game, but I would love something like Odyssey or Syndicate or something like that to come to the system. But in a whole sense, right, where I was going with this is Nintendo has kind of stepped up, and that's why I said I feel as though by a bumper. Like if they're all in a race, like Street Outlaws, it's Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox all lined up next to each other. And right when they cross the finish line, it's like Nintendo is beating these dudes by a bumper, and then Xbox is right next to them, and then PlayStation is third, because of the fact that PlayStation is sticking to a model that, to some people, yes, some people it's going to be appealing to. Some people live in areas where the internet is bad, or they don't want to pay for high internet. Here's my thing. I have Xfinity, and I live in Washington. So if I had to say anything, typically, like right now on my phone, I'm seeing 2 bars, but at the same time, I have home Wi-Fi, so it is what it is. All our devices stay on like a network that's secured, and Xfinity and stuff like that. They take care of all that, and I have enough data. I have enough gigabyte speeds and stuff like that to be able to stream on a normal, right? Thankful and blessed for that. Thank you, Lord, for that, right? So at the same time, when I leave and I take my Nintendo Switch with me, it's very light, things like that. I'm going and everything like that. But now, hearing that Xbox might come and join the party for portable, all I'm doing is making them a space. See what that does is it makes you buy into the ecosystem even more. Like even prime example, I have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, right? Tell you straight up, a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, I need some new games. I just want to try something new. I have yet to play Fallout 4. That's downloaded. Ace Combat, I just got back into that. Very good game. A little bit harder than I thought it would be, but very good game. Loving the planes and the shooting abilities and stuff. Right. I can't remember Outer Worlds. I'm still trying to work my way through that a little bit, and then I really want to go back. I'm thinking about going back to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because I didn't finish it, and I didn't finish Syndicate. So it's one of those things. It's not like I didn't finish it like, oh, I'm in the beginning of the game. I'm towards the end. It was one of those things where basically Odyssey came out, and I was playing a lot of other games at the time, and then Valhalla came out, and I didn't get it wrapped up in the time that Valhalla came out, and I'm okay with that. I'm one of those type of people where I'm not an achievement hunter, and I'm not a game score pumper. I feel like whether you completed the game or not, the second you pay for the purchase, you have authority. And once you pay for the game and you play at least like a couple minutes, at least an hour or so of it, if you really like it, then I feel as though you got an opinion just like anybody else. So the other topic I wanted to get into, because it ties into where I was coming from, is sports. Now, when I was saying media bias, and to explain it, meaning like sometimes people punch at Xbox and sometimes people say Nintendo. 1 second. Sorry, one of my things around the house kind of went off there, and I had to go check on it. Um, So yeah, what I was saying was, excuse me if I'm saying too, just thinking here. I say that a lot, you know. I know where I'm going with this. I just want to make sure I'm staying in line with the topics and stuff. So, what I was saying was, so media bias, if just to give you a small taste of that, is somewhat that basically when you see in the media where they punch down on Xbox sometimes, like whenever Xbox does something, they'll say, all right, like prime example, when they got Outriders, right? They were like, oh, Xbox got Outriders and Xbox got Outriders, but then somewhere in there they'll be like, this is their method, and Sony sold 50 million consoles, or Returnal is coming out in a little bit. It's always one of those things where when Xbox gets reported on, they kind of slide it a little bit towards PlayStation. Like no matter what they're doing, PlayStation is still better. And it's the type of thing that I've noticed. I've noticed it, to be honest with you, since Xbox has come out. When Nintendo and Sega was out, it wasn't like that, to tell you the truth. When Nintendo and Sega was out, it was the type of thing where Sega had its fans, Nintendo had its fans. They had different oh, they had different groups and things like that. And I think that what ended up happening was Nintendo was just making smarter moves. You know what I mean? Like, making consoles. I don't know what kept Sega from, I know there's some history lesson there with Sega that I can't remember. But where I'm coming from with this is the original console war started even with computers with, Microsoft versus Apple, Nintendo versus Sega. This is just the evolution of that, right? Not downplaying it, but it is basically the evolution, right? So the thing of it is, when you look at where we are now, right, taking away the pandemic and taking away, the situations we're in, when you think of things that you want to do normally, you know, when you're paying attention to the news, you may not notice it. That basically that's media bias when they're saying we're biased, meaning you're biased towards PlayStation, and you say Xbox isn't doing anything, Nintendo is kiddie, and it's like PlayStation is this. Everybody's on PlayStation. It's like, look, dude, I ain't turn my PlayStation on outside of YouTube and like for games and weeks. Does that mean that it's a bad console? No. Does that mean that basically it's the type of console where I'm going to be buying a PlayStation 5 first? No. That's see what that because PlayStation didn't keep me, let's say, attached to it all the time. What's gonna happen is, so far, because I'm further into my Nintendo Switch, I'm thinking of waiting to see where this news goes with this new Nintendo Switch. Because if I buy an Xbox and then basically a Nintendo Switch Pro comes out and I could have spent the money on that, I'm gonna be pissed, because I'm like, damn, I should have waited. And to be honest, the Xbox isn't going anywhere. But where I was coming from was, you can notice the media bias sometimes. Like, they'll be like, oh, Nintendo is kiddie and all they got is Mario, and they'll talk about the fan base, and oh, Xbox doesn't have any games, which is stupid because when you look at it, if I'm not mistaken, Hellblade got released. There's Game Pass, there's all these games we can play, and people are like, oh, there's no games, and I'm like, I don't even get in the middle of that stuff, right? I don't. If you notice, our content isn't even about that. The small-mindedness of it, right, doesn't see the media bias. So that exists in sports as well. And I'm gonna be honest, I was born an Eagle. Parents was an Eagle. Grandparents was an Eagles. Wife's an Eagle. And at the same time, there's media bias in the NFL as well. And I'm gonna be honest about it. I think that this is just me. Okay, I don't have qualms with fans of teams. I have qualms with the teams because I feel as though if you dislike a team, dislike the team. Don't get into a situation where you're going back and forth every day on Twitter and social media with different fan bases, and I hate you, you hate me, my team, this, that, 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 that. Like that's dragging your content down right there. I feel that's just me. I feel as though it drags your content down into the bottom depths of the internet, the crumb side, right? So don't get me wrong when I say what I'm saying here, but I know for a fact that the Dallas Cowboys have not won a title since I was in, like, I want to say like middle school. Okay, like I think '95 was like the last title. Now you have to understand and respect the fact that as a team franchise, they are Super Bowl winners. Okay, so you have to give them that respect as being Super Bowl winners. But what I do think goes on is that everybody else in the NFC gets disrespected, or the NFC East mainly gets disrespected every year. Okay, like we're in a situation where, let's be honest about this. I do believe Dak Prescott is and this is just my opinion. This is not news based information and not meant to be taken, harsh or anything like that. You know, I have all respect for NFL players and their talent, but I'm just calling it fair. You know, that's what we do with the SR51 Media brand. So, you know, last year, Dak Prescott broke his whole leg. Okay. Now, you have to keep in mind that this man is coming off of a catastrophic injury, right? He got carted off the field. I didn't even want to see it. Go back to our tweets. I said straight up, even though, you know, hopefully he's okay, right? So he comes back this year, right? And they drafted a linebacker. What I'm already seeing people saying is, oh, Michael Parsons, he gonna shut down Devontae Smith, and when we play the Eagles, man, it's over. I'm hearing announcers, man, the Cowboys is the best team in NFCs. They got this thing locked up. You know, Washington got this thing locked up, man. They ready to go. You know, the Giants, they getting stuff together. See, the Eagles, they the worst team in NFC East. You know, NFC least. Let me remind you of something. Let me remind all of y'all niggas of something. First of all, when Tom Brady was pimp smacking y'all niggas, because I'm gonna call it fair. I'm not even a Patriots fan. Tom Brady was pimp smacking this league. He still is somewhat. Tom Brady was pimp smacking this league for like 10 years straight. Okay? Every damn year, it was the same result. Patriots win the Super Bowl. Patriots win the Super Bowl. Now, if you want to be technical about it, the only teams that stepped out and punched back were the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants. Okay? The Dallas Cowboys have done nothing. Okay? The Washington Redskins have done nothing. Okay? You may have won, don't get me wrong. Last year is last year. If we're gonna count, this is how I view when we're talking about sports. If we're gonna stay in this year, stay in this year. If you go back anywhere towards last year or any year previous to this, then everything gets brought into account. Okay, the whole franchise gets brought into account. And let's be honest, Washington has won nothing. Okay, Dallas gets respect because they know what it takes to build a championship team, right? But in all honesty, Dallas has not been better than us for a while now. Okay, we were like Andy Reid had us in, you know, just to call it fair. Andy Reid had us in the playoffs like every year. Okay, so where I'm coming from is just look at it from facts, because most people are gonna maybe have teams that are outside of NFC East. So think about it like this: your team in the division, right, is playing, and then their rival quarterback breaks his leg or ankle or whatever he broke, right? Breaks his part of his limb, right? Gets carted off the field, right? Now, over the offseason, you change the whole team over, right? Good amount of positions change, coach change, everything. And the first thing that the mass media says is, well, the Dallas Cowboys is the best team in the NFC East. Do you notice how no matter what you do, the mass media always pushes the Dallas Cowboys? I'm going to give you another one, too. I'm going to take my Eagles out of it, and I'm going to show you how they work, right? Because, we may be called SR51 Media, and I'm not even going to say we're new age media, but we are kind of new age media because of the fact that, kind of old school media operates in this way, right? I'm going to give you another one. Are you seeing the commercials where they're like, will Lamar Jackson ever beat Patrick Mahomes? I said to my bro and my family, I was like, they turning on Lamar Jackson now? I remember a time like a year or so ago when Lamar Jackson was viewed as the best. Oh, this is Lamar Jackson. Now I'm hearing people say the same thing I say. Oh, he's a avid runner. He's developing his arm. I'm like, oh, now you want to admit that he's not, he doesn't throw, like that? That he runs the majority of the time? That doesn't make him less of a good player. I feel as though he's top level. He's an elite quarterback, right? But I'm speaking on the media bias where now they're like, Patrick Mahomes. It's all about Patrick Mahomes. And it's like, okay, he won the Super Bowl. Did he win last year? If anything, you should be saying, are we going to stop Tom Brady again? Because, it's like the saying, and to call it fair, that's bias right there. When you're saying you're pumping, you're trying to play to the audience. Like, that's something I don't do. You're trying to play to one audience by talking bad about 31 other teams. You see what I'm saying? Like, not everybody does this. Okay, they know who they are. The media, certain media outlets, and certain people that talk on media outlets know exactly who they are. And don't get me wrong, some people I respect, like Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, Skip Bayless. These are people. NFL Network, Good Morning America panel. Good Morning America, Good Morning Football panel. These are people that when they go to give their opinion, they don't come with, oh well, I played for the Cowboys, 12 years ago, so it's the Cowboys, I've seen people get told, well, Dak Prescott, I know Dak Prescott broke his leg, and I know this player left, and I know they ain't made the playoffs in the longest, but I just feel the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the league. And then, it's one of those things where they get excuses made the whole year, man. Like, no matter what happened, we didn't get none of those excuses. We took the field. You got to remember, we took the field last year with offensive linemen that were, like, not even our starters. Okay, Lane John, our right tackle went down, our right guard went down, our left guard went down, and our center was hurt. Right, that was the offensive line. All our wide receivers, our number 1, 2, and 3 wide receiver were basically out of action. Right, our tight end got hurt, and the backup behind that tight end got hurt. Right, and then on top of that, we were already a little bit light at linebacker and positions like that. So don't get me wrong, but when you add up the team, right, we weren't in contender position. And we were in a situation where, to call it fair, Wentz's punk ass was, behind the scenes basically trying to, and I'm not saying that like, he's a wuss or anything like that. I'm saying that like what he did and how he left us or whatever, it could have ruined us. To tell you the truth, it could have. If we didn't draft Jalen Hurts, it would have been a situation where we would have been in a quarterback hunt. We probably would have been bad for the next 4 or 5 years. So, I'm completely done with that dude. Like for real, like Super Bowl victory or not. Like I look at it like, yeah, you helped us get halfway of the way. You helped us get half of the way, and Nick Foles got the other half done. I was look at my tweets. I'm pretty sure there's a tweet out there where I said, sign Nick Foles. Nick Foles need to be signed. Not that we don't need to sign Carson, but Nick Foles need to be signed. But nobody wanted to listen. They wanted to sign Carson Wentz to a 4 or 5 year deal that only lasted like a year or two, right? So where I'm coming from is, the media bias, right? To me, it doesn't. What I've learned to do. This is what I've learned to do, and I'm passing this on to you. Stay close to content creators that are creating content for you. Okay, mass media, the network brands and stuff like that, they're trying to appeal to everybody. Okay, so the popular thing to do is to kind of punch down on teams. Like I could pull up the power rankings, the NFL power rankings right now, right while I'm sitting here. But some of the teams that I can remember, I would ask you, the New Orleans Saints, if I'm not mistaken, Drew Brees just retired, right? So how are they ranked ahead of us? You see what I'm saying? That team doesn't even know what the playbook's going to look like next year, but they're ranked ahead of us. The Dallas Cowboys have a quarterback that's coming back from injury. I don't care if Dak Prescott, comes out here and throws 5,000 yards. Until he starts to throw, you don't know how healthy that leg is, and you don't know how long he's going to make it, right? Ezekiel Elliott, he's a good player and stuff like that. But at the same time, that first year that he came in, with that offensive line he had him on some other stuff. But now he's basically a regular running back, okay? And this isn't to down punch the team, because I do feel as though I think it's Zach Parsons or Michael Parsons. I don't really know how you say his name there. Not a Dallas Cowboys fan. So at the same time, I do feel as though they have a good linebacker. But let's be honest, they also lost Sean Lee. Sean Lee's no longer on the team. So they gained one, but they lost one. And you also have to keep in mind, too, let me ask you this. Devontae Smith, in my eyes, is the best wide receiver to come out of the draft, right, this year. Now, people would argue Waddle and things like that. It's a debate that'll go on for probably years. Okay, that let their on-field abilities basically keep control of them. But I'm just gonna lay this out for you a little bit, and you tell me if you believe that this is a bad setup. Okay, so you have Jason Kelce at center, Lane Johnson at right tackle, Brandon Brooks at right guard, Isaac Seumalo at left guard, and possibly either Jason Peters or that new young boy they just drafted at left tackle. Okay, you have Miles Sanders as a running back. You have Boston Scott behind him and another running back they just drafted. Okay, you have a Heisman Trophy winner in Devontae Smith on the right. You have possibly Jalen Reagor to the left. And if you get really nasty about it, you have Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert in at the same time, or one of those tight ends, and potentially another wide receiver in Greg Ward, somebody can burn. Now, when we hike the ball, right, if Parsons is playing Smith, well, who's playing Reagor? And if somebody's playing Reagor, then who's playing Goddard? And if you're playing Goddard, who's covering Miles Sanders, who can catch the ball out the backfield? And then who's covering Jalen Hurts, who can scramble? You see how just because you drafted a linebacker, people are saying like, oh, he's gonna be shut down. Do you see a linebacker being able to stay step for step with a Heisman Trophy wide receiver? I don't think so. I think that he's a good player. I think that he's definitely probably going to help the Cowboys because he seems like he's a good linebacker. But what we drafted is the type of thing where if you wanted to okay, say the Cowboys want to be like, well, we're going to shut you down this year. Okay, if you went and got somebody like, say, Patrick Surtain or Asante Samuels Jr. or Stephon Gilmore or something like that from the Patriots, okay, I could see that. I'm not saying it would happen, but I could see you saying that because you're like, hey, this guy that's going to be playing him is going to shut him down. If a linebacker, I'm going to tell you like this, and most quarterbacks probably think the same way. If a linebacker shoots the side to cover a wide receiver, they're throwing across the middle, okay? You just left your spot. You see, he plays linebacker, meaning left, right, or middle linebacker. Devontae Smith is a wide receiver. When he burns from the line, if he comes over to guard him, there's nobody on the left or right. That's an open lane, okay? So I'm just, just saying where it comes from, Even with, don't get me wrong, with playing the Cowboys. Yes, Ezekiel Elliott's a good runner, and I think we'll be able to keep him under control this year, similar to last year because we still have some of the same pieces. Like, you still have to get past, like, our front four, man. Derek Barnett, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javonte Hargrave. That's a tough line, Now, I still think we need to get stronger at linebacker, maybe one or two cornerbacks to shore it up. But at the same time, I feel good about the team going forward into this year. I noticed that even when we won the Super Bowl, like, I'm going out today, I got my Super Bowl ring around my neck and stuff like that because, football season is what it is, right? When you look at how they get reported on, what I started doing and what I was passing to you was stay with media that's created for you. The content creators you see online that are waking up in the morning and doing, like myself, that are, doing YouTube videos about sports and video games, and they're talking about your team and in a good light, that's who you want to listen to. Because, yes, they're going to get real. They're going to, they're going to have their opinions. Sometimes I'll be listening to Eagles dudes. I'm like, man, I don't hear this shit. He's sitting up here talking about we're not going to be good this year. I'm unsubscribing, and you don't really do it, or maybe you do it and you undo it in a second. But it's one of those things where basically myself, I got tired of hearing that my team wasn't good enough when we just won the Super Bowl. Like, let's be honest. Like I said, like I said in the beginning here, when Tom Brady was pimp smacking the league around for like 10 years, only the Giants and the Eagles came out of NFC East to do something about it, okay? Everybody else just got pimp smacked, period. So to wake up in the morning, and not even just the morning, to wake up at, the afternoon and hear, morning, afternoon, night, oh, see, Dak Prescott is back, and, they got Big Zeke, and this is their division, and then everybody's like, it's the NFC least, NFC least. Let me ask you a question. This is just me. What was the Jaguars' record last year? I'll wait. What was the Texans' record last year? I'll wait. Yeah. Okay. We can keep going. Who was the top teams that were drafting this year? What was the Jets' record? Oh, okay. Just wondering. All right? Because you're sitting up here making it seem like, the Eagles went off the cliff. Look, Howie Roseman said it himself. He tried to keep the team going with superstars, stars from the Super Bowl era, and then he realized he couldn't do that. Now, the bias part to me is what they're doing is it's called pot stirring, okay? Basically, they get you riled up, right, talking crap about your team, so now you're watching to hear if they're going to talk good about your team. Like, you're waiting every day for them to say something good, but they never do it. There's a gentleman, shout out to a gentleman over here that actually felt the same way, but I've kept you guys here long enough. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream because I got to run out. Thank you for listening. Thank you to everybody that came in and subscribed to the channel, everybody that tweeted, retweets our information, likes our information. Make sure to check out the brand website, www.sr51media.com, and make sure to set the bell alerts for the channel. Hit a like and subscribe if you're watching it on demand. I want to say thank you to everybody that joined today. And keep enjoying gaming, keep enjoying sports, and come back often. Peace.